Hey, good morning, everybody. John here with FNP Wargamers. Wow, that light is bright. Let's see. Trying to get some better light. Ooh, I'm trying to get some better lighting going on here, but apparently that is not going to work. So let's just try that where I'm not blinded. Sorry about that. Lighting is kind of a pain in the butt right now. I'm trying to do my best to increase or get some better lighting in here without robbing the studio of their equipment. But I have been looking at some new lighting equipment in here and some sound dampening. So when I do finally finish the painting and everything else in the studio, my personal studio, I'll have some better lighting and such in there, because currently there's no lighting in that spare room, or what I call Narnia. So, good morning, everybody. John here with FNP Wargamers, and this is the FNP Morning Show. Boy, do we got stuff to cover. We've got stuff to cover. Not a lot of rumors. Not a lot of speculation. I mean, there's tons of speculation, and actually there's lots of rumors out there. There's just no leaks, and right now it's starting to become a little repetitive on the rumor front. So I'm going to avoid the vast majority of it. Now, there are a couple things we are going to cover today as I give people time to log on, because I'm finding, and I've talked about this before, that when I go live for the show, that there is a weird, even my little start window, there's a weird delay in the notifications that go out. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong. I've got a friend that does a lot of video game streaming, where he's going to take a look at my settings. I'm going to let him remote in, let him take a look at the settings, see what I'm doing wrong, because I want to make sure, if I'm doing anything wrong, I want to make sure everything is on the up and up and looking good, so I can give you guys the best quality show possible. A couple other things. Somebody's like, "Hey, John, is there anything you can do about the way you post up graphics and all that kind of stuff? It just seems a little choppy, or there's not a smooth transition." My answer to you and to anybody else that is curious about that is, this is a live show, and there's no me going in and editing. I can't really edit during the show because I'm actually pulling stuff up as we go. So something I'm going to be looking at doing, I've got the lady that is doing my brand managing for my own upcoming show. We've had a delay because of sickness, and then of course the COVID-19 and a new job or lack of new job, all that jazz. We are working on teaching me how to essentially do recorded videos. So those will be coming in the future, but I'm not going to stop the live show. So when I do those recorded shows, kind of like what you're seeing with, say, Chapter Master Valric, Kirioth, maybe not Kirioth, because I think he does live shows too, and a couple other channels, maybe even not game related, but other channels like Lost Pause, if you watch him on YouTube, or The Quartering with Jeremy over at The Quartering. Their shows are pre-recorded. They go back in, they do lots of takes and editing. So that is why you don't see that happening here. So it's something I am working on, and I would like to be able to do pre-recorded shows in the future. So like tonight, I had intended to do another RPG review. The RPG review is still going to happen. I'm caught between doing a live one or trying to do the edit that I've done. And the editing is, I'm still learning how to do it. So you got to bear with me. We might do one more live RPG review, because I'm still learning how to do all the editing and putting in sound bites and all that jazz. I'm trying, y'all. This is not my day job, and it's not my degree. My degree is in psychology. My background is in criminal investigations. So this is new for me to be doing this sort of thing. So all that said, how about we talk about some Games Workshop stuff? Today, Games Workshop has put out some interesting information. They've updated a lot of things. I I wanted to mention one of these because I've talked to you guys before about Games Workshop is trying to really expand their brand, if you will. And in the course of expanding that brand, I mean, they've gone to toys, video games, now cartoons. We know a TV show is right around the corner with the Eisenhorn series, which I'm still hoping is on Amazon, please, because they can get away with a lot of violence and language and such and content on Amazon. I'm hoping they don't go to like Stars or Showtime. I'm hoping Amazon snags it. Anyways, they are reaching out to all these different, I guess, media, these ways to expand their brand. So here's their latest one. I don't know how the volume will do. I apologize if it's bad, but let's take a look.
Breakfast has always been the meal of champions. To win on the tabletop, you'll need the very best start to your day. Introducing Aquillos, the new Warhammer breakfast cereal, made from the finest organic corn grown on specially selected farms. Free from nutrients and flavor, Aquillos is one of your Munitorum approved 5 a month. Aquillos, for those who astronomic can.
All right, so as you can see, pretty funny, pretty interesting that they would do that. And of course, if you're not aware of today's date, today is April 1st, 2020. So take this with a major grain of salt. Just to go ahead and assume that this is a joke. I do like on the title here. I wish I could read the side. Maybe I'll zoom in later and try to clean it up. It says made from 188% organic Terran corn, as in corn, the blood god. So it was a cool, it was a cute little thing that they've done for April Fools. I'm glad that they're sticking with it. Approved Fun also update, especially at this time when they are not able to put out as much content as they would like. Right now, we should be seeing a bunch more engine war stuff going on right now, but we're not because of course, the COVID-19, and has pretty much put everything, ground everything to a halt. So that is unfortunate because now we don't get to see the cool previews that we're used to getting. And content providers or content creators like myself are left struggling to find content. Man, I'm trying to get this light just right. I'm just going to let it shine in my eye like that just for a little bit here. All right. So, yeah, a little fun thing going on there. I hope you guys like that. That was kind of amusing. I chuckled this morning. I was a little nervous about what they would do, if anything, and they gave us something. A nice little treat, so I can't really complain too much. Ooh, excuse me. I drank that coffee way too fast. All right. News-wise, and this is not an April Fool's thing, is the Seraphon, which just got their battle tome. They were the last of the Age of Sigmar armies that were waiting for their battle tome to be updated to the new logo, the new edition, following Soul Wars released a couple years ago. And they've got their FAQ or official errata up on their webpage. I still have not gotten a copy of this, which I apologize for. I don't want to get it. I could get it illegally. I don't want to. I want to get a legal copy. I want to be able to support the brand. So that means I am now without the book. So I can't really tell you what these changes mean. And I apologize for that. Now, on the other hand, until Ski comes back, and we get Jonathan back and Ben back and everybody's back doing the show. In the meantime, we've got one of our, I'm not going to say who this individual is, but we have an individual that is interested or has expressed interest in being our Age of Sigmar guy. So now his knowledge of Age of Sigmar is like mine, which is pretty much that much. But until just to fill in until Ski is back up and running and rejoins the show and whatnot, we're going to borrow this gentleman's willingness to help out and probably fill in a spot since currently TJ's on a sabbatical. Alan isn't on the show. Well, actually, nobody's on the show except for me. Everybody's really just taking a break, and maybe I might have to take a break to get them back on the channel. I don't know, because tell you what, doing shows every day, and it's a little draining. Kudos to all those YouTube and Twitch people. All right, enough of that. I'm not complaining, but I'd like to. I want to get a subject matter expert in here, or somebody that is focused on it and they're passionate about it, so I don't have to just cover this. And I mean, I don't. It's just one less thing I have to cover. So we'll see how this goes in the near future. Another thing, this is not, as far as I know, it's not April Fool's. I want to put this up. The Aeronautic Imperialis Flight Command. We'll get this going here. Sorry about the volume if it's bad. I'm not going to full screen it. All right, that is kind of cool. What I know about the game so far is that it's a turn-based aerial combat game where you'll slowly build up your squadron or squadrons and execute a variety of, it looked like, if I read correctly, player versus player, campaign-driven, and of course, one-shot scenario type combat. What's cool about this is, it's I would say along the same lines of, from just looking at it, same lines as, say, Dawn of War, where you have different type of units and you're battling enemy units and whatnot. What is different about this is you're executing different maneuvers. So when you are playing the game, you're going to be able to, if you're familiar with Aeronautic Imperialis, the tabletop game, there's a variety of maneuvers you can, your jets or your planes, whatever, your fighters, bombers can execute. So looks like they've implemented that into the game. Let's see if I could back up here. Yeah, right there. Looks like they're showing, trying to find the best. Sorry about this. There we go. Looks like they're coming up with some of the best maneuvers that you can do to essentially get into the best firing position and prevent your own fighters and bombers and stuff from being outmaneuvered as well. And also, one of the other things about this, besides being a 3D, instead of being on a flat plane, you are now going to be, as I've read a little bit, above and below the fighter. So you're now going, instead of the, what is that, probably just the x-axis, now you're doing an xyz axis. Sorry about that. But now you're fighting in three dimensions. As you have to worry about height. Well, you know what I mean, XYZ. So that's something that I think is going to really help this game stand out. We will see how successful it is. Right now, it looks good. It looks solid. It's one I'll probably invest in because I am a fan of Aeronautica Imperialis. I think it is a solid game. I'm looking forward to playing this. So, join the beta program. I'm going to have to join the beta program, head over to their Discord channel. I'm going to put this up on our Facebook page, let you guys get a good look at it and see what you think. Let's take a look at a couple other things that are out right now. So, pretty neat looking, huh? You'd think, wow, man, that guy really did some high detail work on those, on the scripture and everything, on those purity seals. Well, that's actually a transfer. There's a Kickstarter right now, and I'll put this also, I'll put this on, you know what, I'll put this in the description. I'll make sure this gets into the description. There we go. And for those of you on YouTube, I'll make sure it gets on there too. Forgotten Chapters, Purity Seals, and Parchment Transfers. Unique water slide transfers depicting parchment and script for tabletop miniatures. So those of you like myself that struggle writing the scriptures and script and everything on purity seals and stuff, well, they've got that fixed. So they look for $1,000. They got $1,800. 12 days to go. Plenty of time to back this project. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I create a shortcut so I can look at this again on my tabletop. So, fairly cheap to get into. So 12 pounds. Wait, no, not 12 pounds. That's 12 euros, I believe. Supposed to be start shipping in June 2020, which I'm not surprised that it'll be that quick of a turnaround because it is a relatively easy project to, if you've got the right print setup and you got the right equipment, you can just crank this out all day long. So one sheet gets you, well, as you can see, that's a lot. 281 unique purity seals in various sizes, 36 unique 5x4 millimeter, 18 that are 9x8 pages for books, 28 5x6 long parchments, and it looks like you can cut, I mean, they're transfer, so you can cut and essentially cut and paste on virtually anything in any combination. This is really awesome. 210 millimeters, let's see, 210 millimeters to inches. Let's oh wow, okay, so that is 8 by about 5 inches, or 5x8, I think that is. Yeah, it's probably about 5x8 inches. That is huge. Now, if you buy the transfer sheet, it's printed in black, red, and white, as you can see here. Yes, there is a little bit of yellow on here, but it's primarily black, red, and white. They have done, I'm not going to read all this stuff for you guys, but their stretch goals is really important. They'll add another column, not yellow, but another column is in gold. So we got the gold. Now, since they've reached the $10,000 stretch goal, I will design and print a second unique sheet that you will receive for free. So you are going to be getting 2 A5 sheets for the price of one. That is worth, that's probably about $15, which is about the same price that you're paying for Games Workshop or Forge World's bigger sheets. I will have to double check on that. But what is really cool about this, and I'm surprised Games Workshop has not done this, is the fact that you are trying to get that's the best I can get on zooming in. You're getting essentially these sheets that you can sit there and cut and paste for your purity seals. So if you want to take your projects to the next level, dude, this is it. I'm going to find some way somehow to maneuver some money around. I know it's not that much, but with the COVID-19 and jobs being as they are, I've got to watch how much I spend. But this might be worth buying a couple, and maybe, you know, we might even give one of these out as a prize. I might have to do that. That's awesome. That is a lot. I mean, remember, this is about 5 inches wide by 8 inches tall, or long, however you describe that sort of thing. That's freaking awesome. I don't care who you are. That is a good one. I'm going to make sure this gets into the description for the YouTube. It'll be up on our Facebook page as well. I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to get that and support these guys. You know, and if it helps, if you do join it, let them know that you saw this on FNP Wargamers. Please let them know that you saw this on FNP Wargamers. Something you can do is if you back this project is in the comment section. Say, hey, I saw this on FNP Wargamers on Twitch or YouTube, and we're really excited about the product. Just let them know. I mean, you're not going to get anything, but I want them to know that there are people out there like myself, like Jonathan, like Ben, like Ski, that appreciate this sort of product. This is really awesome, and it really helps our hobbying and also really helps the community. So thank you, sir, for doing this. That, if I read correctly, they're out of, man, I think I saw it earlier. I think they're out of the Netherlands. Probably at the top. Yep, out of the Netherlands. So if it's going to be shipping in June, that's not too far away. 12 days, ladies and gents, 12 days. Spend $15, get 2 big giant sheets of transfers. Split it with somebody, and you both spend like $7 or $8, and you both get a giant sheet of transfers. I'm not a big fan of using transfers, but now I am. So, moving on. Something I keep forgetting to do, and I've kind of supported it over the years privately. The Genesis project over on Fate 212, they pretty much put together their own tabletop miniature game. And I'm going to do a review of this later on. They've got a fact sheet out. They talk about the project, essentially, you know, how you can create your own factions, customize weapons, armor, magic, powers, everything. And basically how you are going to take your existing miniatures collection and transfer it over into this game. And this, yeah, like I said, this game's been in about 500 to 600, not 500 to 600 years. It's been in development for 5 to 6 years. About 8 or 900, almost 1,000 people doing the beta test. There's going to be 3 different gameplays. There's the fantasy, medieval, early Renaissance, modern age to near future, and then far distant future. So they're going to have this set up in 3 different categories for you to play this game with your miniature collection. So more on this later. I'm going to cover it more because it is actually a really it's a worthy project to get behind, and I want to support him and Dave Thomas Taylor. I want to be able to support them because, you know what, I used to send information to Fate 212 back in the day, and I really liked working with them a couple times. I'd really like to continue to support that. So, a couple other things to go on because there's not a lot of news, ladies and gents, not a lot of news out there. So, if you are interested in Dungeons and Dragons, you already play, or you're a Magic the Gathering fan, then they've got the Mythic Odysseys of Theros. Theros being the new set that's out right now. I think it's Theros Beyond Death, or Beyond Death Theros, one of the either or. And it's basically about, or the feeling is set in ancient Greece with the gods and pretty much anything, all the myths behind ancient Greece. I'm not going to go too much into that, but if you're interested in that, they have a supplement coming out. It is not out yet. It's available. Looks like it's going to be out in June. As usual, it's going to be a $50 book, which is always kind of a sucky thing, but still, this is essentially a new setting book. I think last year, maybe it was the year before, they did one for the Guilds of Ravnos, I think. Ravnica. Guilds of Ravnica. So if that's not your thing, you're not a big fan of, say, the Magic the Gathering, but you do like the idea of playing a fantasy game, a Dungeons and Dragons game, but set in the Greek mythology world, Greek myth. Something I'm going to recommend is Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. This is over at Modifius Entertainment. I backed this Kickstarter, and I am not unhappy. Maybe that's not the right English. I am very pleased with this. This has got the backing, or this is the same individuals that wrote, right here, from the lead designer and some of the writers for the original Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age Origins, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, all the really good BioWare games before BioWare really kind of went down. They're the ones that put this together, Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. So it's using the 5th edition engine, so kind of like Ultramodern 5, which I talked about not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago. So watch that video here on Twitch or on YouTube and leave a comment, please, because it really helps me figure out what works and what doesn't work for future shows. Anyways, so if you want to play something that is that Greek mythological feel to it, where you are essentially creating your own story, your own Odyssey, if you will, this is the system you want. So it's broken down into 2 different books, actually. There's the hardcover adventure book, which is essentially one ginormous adventure. This book is just 460-page hardback book, adventure book. That is a monstrous book. I would say that is about 4 times bigger, almost, than at the same price of the not Games Workshop, but Wizard of the Coast adventure books. They're about $50 for about 150 pages, maybe 200. So I say 2 to 4 times, depending. You're getting the same price, but you're getting a massive, massive campaign. And I would really recommend that you give it a look over. I believe they have a free download on Drive-Thru RPG. Maybe we'll take a look at that here in just a second. They also have the Player's Guide, softcovers Player's Guide. Tells you how to make the character, or what's different about this versus standard Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. How the classes are tweaked a little bit, some new subclasses, and definitely new races. I think there's like 8 new races. You can even play a Medusa. Good morning, Grandpa. There's a lot that you can do there. New characters, new character subclasses like the Amazon, the Hoplite. So give it a whirl. I mean, if you're definitely like Greek mythology, that sort of thing that's always tickled your fancy, like Achilles and Perseus and all them, give it a whirl, man. You might end up liking it. So either run with the Mythic Odysseys of Theros if you really like sticking with just Wizard of the Coast product, or you like the crossover between Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, or head over to Modiphius and get in my opinion, a better product, because like I said, the designers and writers for the original Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Knights of the Old Republic, and Dragon Age Origins, some of the best games out there, they are the creators of this. They are the creators for Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. So give it a whirl, man. Give it a whirl. Okay. One of the last things here, because I realize it's a little late. Not too late. Tonight, if all goes well, we are going to do another live review. It'll probably be our last live review of an RPG. As I'm still learning how to do the editing and putting in sound bites and all that jazz on a recorded video. So tonight will be hopefully the last live show of a RPG review. And it's really cool that we're going to be doing this one, because this is a dark fantasy game, and it's definitely a scary one to be playing as a player. It is definitely not in the player's favor. So if you want something on hard mode, especially, man, I'll tell you what, if you are a fan of the Dark Souls RPG, but you also like Dungeons and Dragons, you want a kind of a blend of the two, if you like the Dark Souls video games, this is something that you're really going to enjoy, whether you're running the game or you're playing in it. And we're going to cover that tonight. There's a possibility, because there's some despite everything going on, there's construction, they're laying out fiber optic cables. We might lose our internet tonight. So just keep that in mind. We might not have the show. I'm going to be monitoring everything, and I'll let you guys know probably around 5-6 p.m. Central Time. but we'll be watching a teaser trailer. So if you want to head over to modifius.net, if you want to read a little bit about the Symborum, it'll give you a rough idea of what's going on. But I'm telling you, this is a dark fantasy game, and it is definitely not for those people that are used to being super powerhouse living gods of war and magic and everything that you get in Dungeons and Dragons. This is a lethal game. I've talked about these type of games before. I have a fascination with the games where it's really hard for the players. I think Dungeons and Dragons is an absolutely wonderful game. I think it's a really wonderful game. 5th edition is absolutely awesome, but it's a little too... I feel like it's definitely a beginner's game, and it's essentially, I think it's easy mode for RPGs. I think the only other easier game is the Tales of Equestria, the My Little Ponies game. No, I have not played it. I've known some people that played it, some adults that have played it, and from what I understand, it is a fun game, but it's very light on the rules, very easy to play, and I feel like Dungeons and Dragons is like where maybe the My Little Pony RPG is for beginners. Dungeons and Dragons is kind of like the intermediate play. So the Symborum, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, from Free League, but through Modifius, is definitely a dark, dank game. I'm telling you. All right, so a couple other things I wanted to show today is see if I can hide this. We had I got this actually off Spiky Bits. You know, as much crap as I give Spiky Bits, I have to say that they're the better of the news and rumor sites, because they put out maybe not the best articles, because I mean they're essentially amateurs writing the articles, just like I'm an amateur doing this, but they get a lot of good solid content, and a lot of their stuff is not clickbaity as a few other channels that I've mentioned. So one thing that they found was in one of the pictures that Games Workshop had put up is this model, or this image right here. See if do I have a second image? Nope. Nope, I don't have the second image. It is from the Lumineth Night Lords. I keep saying Lumineth Night Lords. Lumineth Realm Lords. Another one of their miniatures looks like a spellcaster of some sort, and they, on their website, they actually have shown a couple other images that help kind of flesh out what this is. Essentially, it's a veiled elf, and if I'm seeing this right, she's got some nice curves. I'm going to tell you right now, those are some nice elf hips right there. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on this model to paint, and especially if I decide to use this as an army. Anyways, I thought I'd go ahead and point that out, that there's still characters, there are still units that we have not seen for the Lumineth Night Lords. Or, god dang it, I did it again. Lumineth Realm Lords. So that's pretty exciting news. Something else I wanted to bring up is talking about Dungeons & Dragons. 5th edition. Nope. Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, you're going to see this today. You're going to see all sorts of crazy stuff today, ladies and gents, because it is April 1st, 2020. You know what April 1st means. You're going to see some crazy stuff out there. So just let me go and put this caveat out there. Technically, if you follow tradition, April Fool's stuff is supposed to stop at noon. Here Central Time, we got another hour and a half technically, but we have all these different time zones. So just be prepared for some sick stuff coming out. I'm going to tell you right now, there is no 6th edition Dungeons & Dragons. They are slated to do 5th edition stuff all the way through next year. 5th edition is like the gold standard of their edition. I doubt that they're going to be changing it. This is going to be like 2nd edition Dungeons & Dragons, where they are going to milk this for years. Maybe even like they did with 3rd edition, where they milked it for about 8 years before they came out with 4th edition. So this is not going away. Fifth edition is not going away, so don't expect it. But I wanted to show that. I thought just give you guys a heads up. The last thing I'm going to talk about, Psychic Awakening tracker. Yay! So I've updated our tracker. I'm going to get it up on our Facebook page. So now that we have War of the Spider confirmed, a couple things of note is they put up a new faction on there that wasn't on the original list of factions, and that was the Imperial Assassins. I don't know if that was an error or that was just something that they threw in later on as a sub-faction, or it doesn't count as one of the 24 factions. I don't know. That's just kind of a bizarre thing that they just tossed in there because we weren't counting on them being a faction in the whole Psychic Awakening based on their earlier graphic. So I went in and updated the graphic. As we've talked about here before, is that the Adeptus Custodes right here, second row, second in, and Death Guard, second row, fourth in, we're supposed to be in, Talons of the Emperor and Death Guard, we're supposed to be in a book fighting each other. And that is true. Our information was accurate. What they weren't accurate about is that it's also going to include Imperial Assassins, which is not on here, and Chaos again, top row, second in. That's why I put a second X there, because they are being used for a second time. So now we're updated, and all the confirmed factions, I'll probably have to make my own Imperial Assassin faction and force it in there somehow, some way. We'll see about fixing this graphic up. Thanks, GW, for messing that up. All right, so that leaves us our last four factions. Now, some of the information out there that I said was bunk, it was just bad rumor, was Death Watch and Sisters versus Death Guard in a book called Death March. I said it wasn't going to happen. It made no sense whatsoever. It was super illogical. I mean, there was just no. Now, does that mean that they still could throw Death Guard in there? They could, because they just threw Chaos back in. Well, a sub-faction of Chaos, so technically not Chaos again, but you know what I mean. It's possible they could still throw Death Guard against Death Watch and Sisters of Battle. Unlikely, especially when you look at these last four factions. Sisters of Battle, they have beef with Necrons. Sanctuary 101, remember? If not, Google that and read up on Sanctuary 101 and the big thing that happened there. Death Watch, well, man, we've got Xenos and Xenos, Harlequins and Necrons, and we don't like Xenos. So it is possible that all four of these will be together. It's also possible that it could be any combination of two of these. Could be Death Watch and Harlequins again, like the Death Mask that came out 2 or 3 years ago. About 2 or 3 years ago is Death Watch versus Eldar Harlequins, and if I remember correctly, also Eldrad Uthwan or whatever was in that box set, the first plastic version of him. I think that's that box set, Death Mask. So we could see that could be Death March, and it could be those two fighting. Or Death March, all of them fighting each other. Lots of possibilities there. My bet right now is all four of them together so they can wrap up the last of the books. I think Harlequins will be in the last book because they are kind of the ones that, and when this whole Psychic Awakening thing started, they were at the beginning of the whole storyline. There's that Harlequin. I cannot, man, I'm really bad about that. Should have looked into her name. There's a female Harlequin that a Shadow Seer, I believe, is the one I was kind of helping or kind of passing information on to that Inquisitor in the beginning. And she is in the background of all this. So the Harlequins, I don't think they're a big player in this, but they are involved and kind of in the background. So I feel like, based on that little bit of information, they are going to be the last part. Not necessarily a big threat, but they're telling this story, and they are storytellers. So I think we're going to see them finishing out this story of the Psychic Awakening, taking us into the aftermath of Psychic Awakening is, which may or may not be the new edition. I gotta keep saying may or may not because we don't know if there's going to be a new edition, ladies and gents. It is possible. If not this year, it could be next year. One of the things that are kind of I have to backtrack a little bit, which I'm not embarrassed or ashamed to have to backtrack my predictions because more information comes out or new avenues of thought come around and I have to recalibrate my speculation. So I'm thinking that this is possible. Games Workshop had said, and I'm doing my best to find the old article on the Warhammer community page, but I have to go back like all the way to 8th edition beginning, is that they wanted to get out all the codexes for 8th edition. All factions get their codexes right away. Well, as fast as they could. Taking them about 2 years to do that, but they're all out now. Everybody's got their new codex. Space Marines started the next cycle of codexes, and we got to see how powerful those next wave of codexes are. One of the things I've talked about before on this show about those new codexes is Games Workshop wanted to put out new codexes and in those new codexes was pushing out the product that they weren't going to be carrying inside those codexes anymore, like a lot of that stuff in the Legends line, and only new product would be showing up in those boxes or those codexes. So essentially, we're going to start the next codex cycle, which in a way is kind of saying we're starting a new edition, kind of like what they did with 6th to 7th. This is kind of really 8 to 8.5 or 8 to 9 or whatever the new edition will be called. So it is still possible this is a new edition or it's a way to look at it as a new edition. They might not come out and say, hey, it's the Age of Mankind, Age of the Emperor, Age of Chaos, Age of Xenos, whatever they want to call it, or 9th edition. It might not be called that because the new rule set is a solid rule set. They might just be going, hey guys, we're going to just update all the codexes because we love this edition, like they did with Age of Sigmar and Soul Wars. We're just going to be putting out box sets with the revised rules after all the FAQ errata updates. We're just going to start putting all those new or that full updated rule set in there. But we're not changing the rules. We're not changing the game system or the edition. We're just going to start putting out those box sets like we did for Age of Sigmar, which I think was something I was essentially talking about and alluding to that they are likely going to be doing. So more on that as I get more information or as I sit and ponder these things as I'm painting, about 40 miniatures, 50 miniatures now. Emperor's Children, Thousand Suns, Iron Snakes, and a crap ton of Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures. My plate is very full right now. Anyways, as I sit and piece all this stuff together, I will come up with some more theories, and I'll probably put up something. We might even just do a full-on speculation video in the very near future, maybe the end of this week, maybe even Friday, before we get our Saturday preview, the last of the big reveals. And I'm hoping that the big reveal this Saturday is much bigger than the last one, because the last one was big, but could have been better. But I think we got what I kind of was unfortunately predicting, that we were going to get a little bit, but not the big whammo. So I'll make my prediction on Friday, and we'll see if that prediction comes true. And if not, then we'll revise that prediction. It's like I said, we are speculating here based on limited information, so we're going to get it wrong. But if I do get it right, man, we're awesome. But if I get it wrong, it happens, and we just dial back, revisit the theory, and improve upon it with whatever information we have, and it helps us narrow down. I mean, that's science right there. That's using the scientific method. So we are going to continue to do that because that's the game that we're playing now. Anyways, so tonight, probably about 5 p.m. Central Time, I'll let you know if we're going to be covering the Symborum RPG. Just because of the internet issues I may or may not be experiencing today, as they are laying down that fiber optic cable outside again, or still. And the apartment complex already alerted us that, hey, you guys might see a disruption in power and in your internet cable if you have a hard line. So we might experience that trouble. If we do, we'll just do the RPG review on Saturday or Thursday. Anyways, you guys have yourself a wonderful day. Stay safe. Be positive. We're almost through this COVID-19 thing. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it's going to get better. It's going to get a little worse. I hate to sound like President Trump. It's going to get a little worse, but it's going to get a lot better. We just have to get through the hump. So make sure you're staying home. Make sure you're being safe. Don't be passing it around. Don't be doing stupid COVID-19 or coronavirus parties. Pay attention to your local government, whatever they're telling you to do. Like here, they're saying, hey, stay at home, not shelter in place, but stay at home. Only go out for the bare essentials. You go out to the grocery store, ladies and gents, at the gas station. Watch how you do stuff with your hands. Please, 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 please be careful for your sake and the sake of those around you. All right. You guys have yourself a wonderful day. I will see